Hello, Lancaster, and welcome, dear listeners. We are indeed really happy to have you with us for the second edition of the Ebin radio show and podcast, the monthly program made by the Ebin students here at Lancaster University that brings you news, thoughts, and insights about e-business and innovation. Oh, I'm Yuri, by the way, and delighted to be your host. Coming up in the program today, does an innovation need to be highly technological or complex to have an impact on the society? Well, not necessarily, according to Ryan Pugh, that will talk to us about the concept of jugaad or frugal innovation. We will also talk about the importance of green and social innovation with Denis Touliatos, who is a PhD researcher at the Lancaster Environment Centre. But first, let's talk about some news about e-business and innovation. And to do so, let me formally introduce my two dear deputy hosts with me in the station. Sergey, who is still recovering from a severe flu and was saved his void for us. Thank you so much for being there, Sergey.
Hello, yeah.
And see you, who is quite alright, I guess, yeah?
Yeah. Hello, Yuri.
Hi. Warm welcome to both of you guys. Thank you for being there. Well, guys, we got some interesting news today. First, Sergey, Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is sometimes described as a white male word that clearly lacks of diversity. Well, it seems that Facebook is trying to challenge this reputation. First, it recruited Maxine Williams as the head of Global Diversity, what a position, at Facebook 18 months ago. And now it is adding a custom gender option. Is that right, Sergey?
Yeah, exactly. Previously, you could have chosen from several variants, but now you can type in everything you want. So, I don't know, you can imagine any gender that you want and really type it in on Facebook and it will accept it.
I would be surprised of the answers of people about these custom things, yeah. So, do you think this diversity focus is, like a genuine intention of Mark Zuckerberg and his Facebook's team, or is it just another marketing gesture?
Well, I'm quite sure that it is a genuine marketing gesture.
Oh.
Yeah, it affects an extremely small amount of users. So I have just no idea why they're doing it.
So you don't believe in this diversity thing about Facebook then?
Marketing.
Okay. Okay, so marketing then for this gender option. Well, let's stay in the Silicon Valley for a while, because Google has launched an artificial intelligence program that deals with Atari games. I guess what is it all about, Sergey?
Oh, I believe all of you at some point or another have played side games as Space Invaders or Pong and especially Pac-Man. You know, this yellow guy.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, Google have introduced a new algorithm that after several hundred of tries can play those games and on a very, very good level. Basically, they performed at more than 75% of the level of professional human player.
So you mean we can be beaten by Google at Atari then?
At Pac-Man.
At Pac-Man, yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, we talk a lot about artificial intelligence these days, right? Especially since like IBM Watson's computer system competed on Jeopardy's quiz game. Well, and if you haven't seen it yet, just have a look at the video on YouTube, because it's really quite amazing to see this computer beats humans at Jeopardy. Well, Sergey, is this Google program related to the one of IBM, or?
Yeah, in some way. What makes this Google project so interesting is that it only requires raw pixels as input or video, and a way of measuring this success, for example, a score in Pac-Man. So everything else this algorithm does is on its own. So what it means is that, for example, in future, you can just send any video stream. For example, you've made a picture. You can then just send it to the algorithm and it will analyze it and tell what's going on there. So as for similarities with IBM Watson is that Google is also trying to make a general purpose learning agent. So the one that can perform several very different tasks. In this specific example, they used 49, I think, different games. They're really all different, but still the same algorithm with just very small adjustments to each of it. And as you know, the majority of products are highly specialized now.
When I'm listening to you, Sergey, I realize that like humans are not so necessary anymore. And
No. At least we're good at radio shows.
Okay. But maybe in a few times we will be computer presenting this show then. But for now, you're listening to the Ebin Radio Show program, and we're covering the news with Sergey and Seiyu. Yeah, and if you're just joining us on Bailrigg FM, so you're listening to the Ebin Radio Show and podcast, and we talk about some news. See you. Last month, you talked to us about the concept of augmented reality and the new prototype of Microsoft called HoloLens. Well, it seems that one of the first applications of HoloLens could be to customize your shoes. Is that right? See, could you tell a bit more about it?
Yes, actually it is Nike, which was recently awarded a patent for an invention that would let you custom design a pair of kicks using projected augmented reality. Although the patent doesn't specify which devices Nike's Matrix shoe would be designed for, however, the obvious contestant here is definitely Microsoft's new HoloLens. Well, if this is true, I don't know, but it might become the first real application we will see in the near future, which is quite exciting, especially for some super Nike fans, isn't it?
Yeah. And for women, no, definitely, yeah. The shopping experience through the augmented reality, customizing your shoes. Okay, so, well, this concept of augmented reality seems definitely promising, see you. So maybe more news in the next show about it. We will covering
we will see.
Yeah. Another topic, see you, because I guess that what has caught your attention are the drones, right? Well, not the military ones, of course, but
obviously.
Well, it might be, but it's mostly the commercial applications or future applications of drones, and that's quite a trendy topic since Amazon talked about a possible drone delivery service a few months ago. No, that's not a joke. That's happening. And some people are even talking about drone advertising. I mean, what is that to you?
Well, yes, you're right, Yuri. The drones innovation has drawn the attention of many people these days. And you ask about the drone advertising, actually, which I think is a very interesting application of drones. Well, basically, the concept of it is about to combine the drone and advertising together to make it as drone advertising. So initially this idea was given from a local restaurant chain in US to hype its business by dispatching a bunch of drones carrying promotional signage as they float by office windows and along sidewalks, encouraging office workers to stop their work for a short while and go for the website or give phone call that shows on the signage or poster on the drone to have a takeaway lunch from the restaurant.
No, but that sounds completely crazy. So you mean like you can be working at the office at like a high level floor, and you can see a drone with a flying billboard on it.
Yeah, just floating by your window.
Wow, God. Well, advertising has definitely no limits. Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't you think it would be like too much to capture your attention to look at drones with advertising messages on it?
Well, it's true. Based on the researches that from the American, that it's true that some people sometimes will feel actually that's annoying. But anyway, I think this is really still a creative idea for business marketing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is definitely. And on a general manner, do you think that drones will be flying above our heads in a few years' time? How likely is the drone technology to have a real impact on our daily life?
Well, actually, the drones have already had significant impact on our life in some ways nowadays. Well, for example, for filmmakers and extreme sports videographers, drones can deliver exciting new perspectives. And for ordinary people, drones can let us see what it is like to be a bird, for example. And also, don't forget that football fans have already got a glimpse of it. Thanks for the drones that for last year's World Cup.
Oh, the World Cup was covered by drones?
Yeah, they use drones to photography the whole view of how they playing the football for the whole view. Yeah.
Wow. That's quite an amazing thing here. Yeah.
Yes, and as for the future, first you already mentioned the possible Amazon drone delivery service to deliver products weighing less than 5 pounds with drones that can fly as far as, 10 miles from its fulfillment centers. Sounds really ambitious. And also, drones can play a very significant role also in constructions. You might not know the founder of Skypan International Company before I introduce to you, who is Mark Sickle, who has used a homemade drone to photography high-rise building sites. He just uses that photos to show prospective investors and buyers exactly what the view from maybe the 30th floor will be. And you know that this startup company that uses drones to gather data, they just got $10 million from investors. Because the positive feedback from one of the VC is that such a camera in the sky covering millions of acres and thousands of construction projects is exactly what we are hungering for. So,
especially if you put advertising on them, no?
Yeah.
Wow. Look like endless possibilities then for the drones, and you say that it is happening right now. There are already some applications of the drones in the building and construction business then?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that there's amazing possibilities have explained why consumers and businesses are snapping into drones these days. But even though there is still a U.S. Federal Aviation Administration limits the commercial use of drones, but still I don't think it can limit that much because it still can be a hot trend in the future. I don't know.
But you're right, yeah, that maybe would be like a regulation limit, right? Like, I've heard that in the US they are talking about a regulation that for delivering a drone you need to see it at every time, but of course you can't see it because you control it with a computer. So there may be some issues according not to the technology, but to the regulation, like the government issues then, yeah.
Yes.
Sergey, would you have a comment on this drones technology thing?
Yeah, indeed. You sound too positive. I just want to remind you that we should always think about the security. If you remember, in January, a small drone has crashed on White House property.
Wow.
Yeah, it was flying at a low altitude above the ground without setting off alarm. So just imagine, there's a president, like in a building nearby, and there's a small drone flying around, and no one knows about him. So it is quite a security issue.
It's quite scary, is it?
So this Tuesday, the Secret Service has announced special drone exercises. So, there's a sport when special dishes are flying in the air and people are shooting them.
Yeah.
Well, it seems that they're going to have approximately the same thing. They will just fly drones, and the security guys will trying to, shoot them.
You will say pull and shoot the drone then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well. Okay, so thank you about that, Sergey. We have to be careful about the security thing, of course, when you will be ordered to Amazon for delivery drone service. Thank you so much for this news, guys. We're listening to the Business and Innovation Radio Show. you're listening to the Ebin Radio Show podcast program that brings you new news, thoughts, and insights about e-business and innovation. And it's time to move on to our main topic of the day, which is about the concept of jugaad or frugal innovation. Last month, we talked about innovation as a whole and why it is important for firms to innovate in order to stay competitive. But an innovation doesn't necessarily need to be highly technical or complex. In fact, many innovations that change people's lives, especially in developing countries, don't require much more than ingenuity. Well, Katarina has interviewed for us Rhiannon Pugh, a research associate, in order to know a bit more about the concept of jugaad or frugal innovation. Let's listen to them.
Hello. Today we will interview Rhiannon Pugh, who is a research associate at the Entrepreneurship and Enterprise Department. So, Rhiannon, can you tell us a bit more about your research?
Absolutely. My area of research is innovation policy, so how governments try and support innovation in their nations or in their regions. And I'm especially interested in how innovation theory can help us to understand innovation and how to better support it. And if we can better support innovation, we can create economic growth, more jobs, more wealth in local, regional or national communities.
Okay, so I suppose that one of your topics is jugaad innovation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us what jugaad innovation is?
Yeah, jugaad innovation is a really interesting idea. The name jugaad innovation comes from India. And basically, it's an Indian word that means basically like frugal or budget innovation. And the basic idea is that rather than innovating in a very high-tech, scientific kind of way, we're using everyday objects, low technology. We're using things from everyday life to try and innovate, either to try and make life easier, to try and make us more productive in our work, or to try and make money. And the best way to explain it really is to illustrate some examples of jugaad innovation. So a good example is a woman in India who made a washing machine using parts of a bicycle so she could pedal and do her laundry, because where she lives there's no electricity, so she couldn't use a traditional washing machine. So this is an example of jugaad innovation where she's taking two technologies that already exist and bringing them together. Another example is a man also in India, in the south of India, whose job was to climb trees and collect the coconuts. So he made a device that he could clip onto his legs to help him grip the tree, so he could climb the tree quicker and more safely, and so he could collect more coconuts and make more money, but he also made his work environment much safer.
Bring me down, can't run, bring me down, the love is too high, bring me down, can't run, bring me down.
And we are back in the station. See you, Sega. Would you have any comments on the concept of jugaad innovation as described by Rhiannon Pugh?
Oh, right, yeah. So, I've just thought about a very interesting thing. For example, in my room, the shower floor is on the same level as the whole bathroom. So, when taking a shower, water is inevitably everywhere. Normal people are using a mop, but it's just difficult. Maybe I'm lazy, and it takes just too much time. However, I found out that squeegee for a bathroom mirror is really effective in collecting the water from the floor. Could I also be called a jugaad innovator?
Oh, well, I guess so, yeah, in the sense that it is a useful innovation with a limited amount of resources. So, yeah, I guess it could be. Okay, so let's go back to the interview of Rhiannon Pugh and about the jugaad innovation and also the business perspectives on this concept on innovation.
Okay, so apart from our everyday life, how the concept of jugaad innovation is related to business, how important it is for companies?
I think the idea is really important to companies, potentially, because jugaad innovation is a way to innovate if you haven't got a lot of money or resources at your disposal. And I think even in multinational companies in the Western world, in times of austerity or in times of fiscal tightness, where companies might not have as much resource at their disposal, they could employ some of the jugaad ideas and practices to do things basically on a tighter budget and make themselves more profitable.
Okay, so Jugaad innovation exists both in the emerging markets and in the Western societies, right?
So Jugaad is predominantly a developing world concept, if I can use that term. And it's really come from India, and also there's variations of the idea that have come from Latin America and Africa, these ideas of frugal innovation. And I think it's really important because it's a really interesting example of an idea that's actually come from the developing world that is really gaining momentum in the developed world, if you don't mind me using those terms. So there's an increasing interest in the Western world in these like alternative approaches to innovation, such as green innovation, Jugaad innovation, frugal, social innovation. And we can actually see these ideas currently in European Union policy, for example.
Okay, and finally, how Jugaad innovation is spreading to the West?
I think initially it's been spreading through academic channels, as far as I can see. So academics from India and developing countries getting together with academics from the Western world, sharing ideas and actually introducing us to this Jugaad concept. And this is how I learned about the idea, was at an international conference where some colleagues from India and Latin America kept talking about this Jugaad frugal innovation idea. And I said, oh, hey guys, like I need you to explain this to me because I don't really know what you mean about frugal innovation. I don't know what you mean about informal economy. These aren't concepts I'm familiar with. So they told me about it. They told me about the book, Jugaad Innovation. And so that's kind of how the knowledge has been spreading initially. And I think increasingly now it's spreading outside of the kind of purely academic into communities of practice, both in policy and in business. But I think we're still in quite the early stages of the concept, which is why I think it's a really exciting thing to be learning about, because it's really at the forefront of new ideas and innovation.
Yeah, so universities play a really important role in Jugaad innovation.
I would say so.
Okay, thank you very much, Rhiannon.
You're welcome, thank you.
And you're listening to the Ebin Radio Show and podcast program that brings you news, thoughts and insight about e-business and innovation. And we have just listened to an interview of Rhiannon Pugh about the concept of Jugaad and frugal innovations. Well, guys, let me ask you, do you think this concept can be applied by Western companies? Do you have any examples in mind?
Yeah, as for frugal innovation, it has reminded me about a Renault Logan case. In 1997, Renault's owner has visited Russia and was amazed that $6,000 Russian car called Lada was much more popular than Renault cars at that time. This realization have caused Renault to develop a new model that everyone now know. It's called Renault Logan. Low-cost car, also $6,000 for developing countries, that became an instant success.
Mm-hmm. So you say like that, Renault realized that to be successful, it has to be really simple car and reduce maybe the amount of features in it. Or
yeah, because that's what frugal innovation is about. Mm-hmm. Reducing and getting rid of unnecessary things.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Western companies can apply this concept of
actually, I already see some real Jugaad innovation that has applied in our campus. You know, in our bathroom, you have cold water and hot water come from different pipes, and the cold will be too cold and the hot will be too hot. So actually, from my group discussion in our class, one of our group came up with an idea of Jugaad innovation. They use a big bottle to combine these two pipes together and to get the moderate temperature warm water.
Oh yeah, this thing of two separate taps in the UK.
Yeah.
I really don't know why UK people are doing that, but yeah, for foreigners, it could be an issue, this thing. So yeah, a good example of also frugal innovation. Well, as mentioned by Rhiannon Pugh, concept of Jugaad of frugal innovation is often related to the ones of social and green innovation, in the sense that it improves people's lives while saving resources. Lefty Youth has interviewed for us Denis Touliatos, who is a PhD researcher, about the importance of green and social innovation. Let's listen to them.
Well, hello everybody. I'm here in Bailrigg FM radio station with Denis Touliatos. Well, welcome Denis.
Hello.
Thank you for coming. and you will share us your experience and information about green innovation as a topic, which is actually a big trend in innovation field, I think. So, Dennis, you are a PhD candidate?
Yeah, I'm a PhD researcher in the Lancaster Environment Center. I'm actually a plant physiologist, and I'm looking at how plants respond in vertical farming systems. So, because in vertical hydroponic systems, there's luxuriant growth conditions, high light, high temperature. So, I'm looking at how the plants respond to these conditions. And it requires a multidisciplinary approach. So, it requires, opinions from engineers, designers, and of course, plant physiologists to see how the plants grow.
Oh, that's interesting, actually. When you combine different perspectives and background for such a field, I think that's very interesting, actually. So, from your point of view, what is green innovation?
Well, green innovation can encompass a variety of ideas, and it can involve a new product, a process, or an idea that basically incorporates some aspects of sustainability. So, this can be, something that has been built from recycled material or reusing waste. And for example, it could be, vertical farming systems like the ones that I am researching, which they can do better use of the land. But also, ideas like a co-housing where people live together and share resources rather than using too much or more than what they need. Or even transparent solar panels used as windows so they can have a dual purpose, which is one of the main concepts of permaculture, which is a concept that carries a lot of green innovation ideas with it.
Cost-sharing, right? Cost-sharing.
Cost-sharing?
Yeah, you mentioned about when you share resources.
Co-housing.
Co-housing.
So basically it's people living together in houses and sharing a common kitchen or a common washing machine, so there's no need to buy, for example, if there's 12 families living in an area, you don't need to buy 12 washing machines, you can buy one.
Yeah,
and,
that's a good concept, actually.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays.
Exactly.
All right, and you provide us also some examples about green innovation, and we get about the concept and the point about what is this, a huge field as I can realize also. So how can green innovation concept be applied from businesses? So how we can see this managerial perspective of green innovation?
Well, from my point of view, green innovation should be incorporated in all aspects of a business. So not only in the final product, but starting from the investment. So it needs to be an ethical and, sustainable investment that will bring the money. And then the design of the product needs to be sustainable, the materials, the people who create the product need to take as much as into account using less resources or reusing waste or upcycling waste.
Okay.
And we're back in the station for the second interview of Dennis Tudiatos. So, green innovation is mostly about this idea of sustainability, and according to him, it should be applied in all aspects of businesses. Sergei, see you. Would you have a comment about that?
Yeah, green innovation has been around for quite a while, and now marvelous achievements can be seen sometimes. For example, in Australia, they have just introduced a carbon-positive house. Yeah, it is the type of house that produces more energy than it uses. For example, for heating and ventilation, etc.
Okay. Also a question for you, Sergei, because we talked about the genuine intention or the marketing gesture. Do you think that, like, for example, the green innovation is a real trend, or is it also a marketing gimmick where businesses put green, but in fact not too much?
Well, from my perspective, since it reduces costs, it has this economical background for this issue. Allowing to input any gender won't bring any money. It's just a very it's a thing targeted for society, for a very small part of it. But as for green innovation, it helps solve lots of problems in terms of ecology, lots of problems in terms of, even
global warming. And,
something like this.
Okay, so an important topic, and we do hope that it's not just a marketing gesture then for the field.
I really hope so.
Also, Dennis mentioned the concept of co-housing in order to save some resources. And maybe we can make a link between this concept and the trendy topic of the sharing economy. Take Airbnb, for example, the idea to share your apartment with strangers. Well, of course, the main goal with Airbnb is to make or save money, but it's also about co-housing. So maybe we can imply that Airbnb could be quite in the green innovation thing. Well, let's go back then to the interview of Denis Tulietos to know more about green and social innovation.
From your experience and your research also in this field, do you know if there is any funding right now in this area, for example, from European funding or private investments probably? There is funding?
Well, there is definitely lots of funding, and I don't know exactly now details.
For projects, but project, for example.
Yeah, there's an amazing funding approach which is used very much nowadays called crowdsourcing, which basically people put forward their idea and then people who are interested in the product contribute and make it materialize the idea. So I think that's the way to go.
And this is also, just to mention, it's online. Crowdsourcing is online.
Exactly.
Through different platforms. Could you tell us more about the concept of guerrilla gardening and what's the main idea behind it, which is very interesting actually?
So basically, here in Lancaster, I'm a trustee of a group called Incredible Edible, which is a guerrilla gardening group. And basically, guerrilla gardening is a movement that started in the 60s. And essentially, it encompasses the vision that individuals can just act and reclaim land and improve it or benefit from it. So basically what we do is we find land that has been neglected or not used, and we grow food in it. And everybody, the whole community, can have access to this food. So this way we make a good use of the land, and we make urban places look nicer.
Yeah, well, a big element for sustainability also.
Absolutely, yes. And for other social issues like food poverty and social inequalities.
Okay, well, and you're involved also in the Garden Share scheme, so can you tell us more about what is this project?
Yeah, so I'm running through Transition Towns Lancaster, which is a sustainability network. I'm running a garden system, which involves matching landless growers with garden owners in an attempt to make good use of green spaces in urban areas. So basically, people who have a garden but don't have the time or the skills to grow food in it, they share it with people who are very keen to grow food but can't get an allotment or don't have access to a garden. So this way we have this sharing, and both parties benefit.
The term is always around green innovation.
Absolutely, yes.
Share resources, share facilities, or knowledge probably also.
Skills, knowledge, yes.
Yeah, very interesting actually that to share your garden and just give it to someone else to start planting some vegetables or plants or whatever this is. It's a very interesting concept actually. Okay, Dennis, well, finally, can you tell us about the use and role of technology in green innovation concept? Just from your experience, your knowledge, some examples probably?
Well, I believe that in order for us to transition to a more sustainable society, multiple approaches are needed to reduce the ecological impact of humanity, and reduced consumption is going to be key. So we need to basically consume less. But also green innovation can help facilitate this by ensuring that the environmental option is not always the hardest one, because to live a frugal life, it doesn't seem very pleasant to most people. So green innovation can play an important role.
Yeah, exactly. And also, as you mentioned, the crowdsourcing is a big concept.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is where technology can help through different platforms to make it happen, actually. Such projects and concepts then. All right. Well, thank you very much, Dennis.
Thank you.
And we would like to thank him. He's a PhD candidate at Lancaster University Environment Center. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
And you're listening to the Ebin Radio Show program and podcast, and we have just heard about an interview of Denis Studietos about the concept of green innovation. First, maybe a comment. Green innovation is sometimes perceived as going back to a frugal life, right? Like following the Woodstock movement in the 60s and all that. But in fact, it's not. Green innovation can be really high-tech. That was just a comment I wanted to make here. But you guys, do you have comments about green social innovation?
Oh, yeah, I have just found some interesting and relevant news.
Yeah.
Especially for you, Yuri, because, well, you're from Paris, right?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Did you know that Eiffel Tower has just been updated with 2 air turbines to generate electricity for the first floor of Eiffel Tower?
Wow. Yeah. No, I have to say I didn't know that.
It have happened just like 1 week ago.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's like lots of wind there.
Yeah,
so they've installed 2 very small turbines. They painted it in the color of the whole Eiffel Tower, so nobody will see them. But they will save lots of money for just providing, things for lighting, etc.
Oh, that's okay. That's a really good, green innovation here. And thank you, Sergei, for this innovation happening just near my home. But I didn't know that, so thank you.
Well, actually, I also found the idea of Garrier gardening that the person mentioned in the interview is very impressive, because actually nowadays it's become a popular trend in my country, China, that people who live in big city center without, normally they don't have space for gardening or something, and so to contact with people who live in suburbs community with big gardens, or yard, or even farm via such sort of green project, green platform, we call it, to plant their own vegetables there.
Okay, so you say that this is happening also in China, this concept of guerrilla gardening, yeah. Okay. I think it's a major issue, no, right? This food thing to eat local, and to be respectful of the environment and all that,
Yeah,
global trend then, okay. Okay, so we have listened to an academic and practitioner's point of view about the concept of, jugaad, social, green, frugal innovation. Well, all these concepts are related in a way, right? So let's conclude this program by a student's point of view. Chinching has interviewed for us Toyosi about some jugaad innovation then happening in Nigeria. And apparently there is a car out there simply made from scrap metal. Let's listen to them.
Hello, Toyosi.
Hi, Tintin.
Thank you for being here today. Would you like to share some interesting jugaad innovation in Nigeria with our audience?
Okay. For one, there's this particular scrap metal car that I've seen. Yeah, it's a car that is basically made of scrap metal that has just been welded together and just pieces of plastic. I have no idea how.
Plastic?
Yes. Pieces of plastic as a windshield. It has this conical shape and it looks more like something from Star Wars actually, but it's made purely out of scrap metal. And I've actually seen this vehicle work and move around at least 3 different situations. So yeah, it's
on
something
road.
On the road. Yeah,
is it safe? I mean,
it's obviously imperfect. I mean, it's a car that's made of scrap metal and plastic, but I'm pretty sure that, if the person that was behind this innovation, if this person is giving training and this person actually gets to work with standardized equipment, I'm sure the person will be able to do a really good job in terms of maybe car production and new ideas and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds very cool. I think. It can be a disruptive, innovation.
Probably.
In the future, it can change the automobile industry.
Probably.
Yeah. By the way, I think African people is so good at music. Can you tell us something in this area about the jugaad innovation?
Well, you're right about us loving music and dance and things that are quite energetic people. In fact, there was a recent video that I saw on YouTube about a little boy, I think about 8 years old or so. He made up a drum set with pieces of metal, scrap metal too, and he had like tin bowls, and he used them as his cymbals, and he had tin bowls also that he puts like plastic bags on them and bound them with rubber bands, and voila, he has a drum set. And the boy is actually really good at drumming. I mean, he probably cannot afford like a standard drum set, but he was able to use the little things that he had at his disposal, and he was able to make a not proper, but he was able to make a useful drum set out of it. And he actually earned money from his drumming and all of that.
He also earned money?
Yeah, he earned money, like he's drumming on the streets and people are giving him money because he's really good at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to listen to it. Can I find it online?
Yeah. I mean, you can just type Nigerian boy drumming on YouTube, and I think I think it's pretty conspicuous because you'd see that the drum set that the boy is using is obviously not standard. I think that's how you'll be able to identify that this is the particular situation I'm talking about. But I think it should be about the second or third one on the list when you type Nigerian boy drumming on YouTube. Yeah,
I think I will search it later.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, thank you so much, Toyosi. Really enjoy talking with you.
Yeah, same
here. See you soon.
Yes, yeah, bye.
Bring me down, can't run. Bring me down, the love is too high. Bring me down, can't run. Bring me down.
And that was Chin Ching interviewing Toyosi about some jugad and frugal innovations happening in Nigeria. Well, guys, the second edition of the Ebin Radio Show and podcast comes to an end. We do hope you enjoyed it in spite of some technical issues, but you can listen again to this program in a complete version thanks to the podcast available on Bailrigg FM and on the Ebin Facebook page. Sergey, see you. Many thanks to both of you. And I wanted to know more about the drone things, HoloLens and augmented reality things and artificial intelligence. Many interesting things happening on there. So many thanks to both of you. Thanks also to the Ebin Radio team and Bailrigg FM. The next show will be on Saturday the 21st of March at 12 a.m. and we do hope you will be there with us. Until then, we wish you happy day, happy weekend. Take care then. Bye-bye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
For the best in Indian alternative music, tune into the Indie Hour, Mondays at 7, right here on 87.7 Bailrigg FM.